small businesses with SBA funding and beyond, including application preparedness and other financial resources. Today, we welcome Ron Barrett and Margaret Jackson of the ACSBDC, who both been working tirelessly throughout Alameda County. I want to thank Ron and Margaret for attending the call today, and again for all the work that they've done across Alameda County. So with that I turn the floor over to Margaret.
Thank you, Sean. I appreciate that. I'm Margaret Jackson. I am the director of the Alameda County Small Business Development Center, and we are working hard to support as many businesses as possible. We're hiring more people, more advisors, and that's happening throughout the region. And just to give you a little information first on how an SBDC operates or work, or who's your SBDC. The Small Business Development Center in Northern California are by county. So if you're in Alameda County, then you would be a small business that we can support. If you are a nonprofit, we do not work with nonprofits because of the legislation and the way that it's written. It's not that we wouldn't want to work with you, it's just the legislation and how it was written for the Small Business Development Center, but we do have resources that we could point you to get the support that you'd need if you are a nonprofit and you're on this call today. That being said, just to make some differentiations, the Small Business Administration, SBA, is the parent of the SBDC program, the SCORES, the Women's Business Center, the Veteran Business Centers. They are our funders, but we are not SBA. And sometimes we get small businesses contacting us, especially during this time, and asking us questions that are SBA questions. Although we are closely in communication with SBA, we're on multiple meetings and calls and webinars to stay up to date as much as practical for all of the changes that are happening through the resources and funding sources that are coming down from our federal government. And the reason why we're seeing so many changes and we've had frustrated business owners, and we understand, because we've never seen this. No one has seen this type of situation where we have a pandemic and we have to stay home. We have to do business in a different way, if we can do business, and can we pivot as a business, small business. And our small business advisors will help you pivot, help you submit applications, help kind of navigate some of those hard to area places to navigate when you're working with these different programs. I do want to give a kind of a hoorah to our government, even though this has been difficult and it looks absolutely crazy and that we're all over the place, or SBA is all over the place. I want to put this in perspective and garner your understanding that we are so impacted with the demand. And it's when you're in business and you says, I want all the business that I can get, sometimes that demand is so incredible, you have a hard time. It'll actually put businesses out of business if the demand is too much and they can't respond. Our government has responded so quickly to getting products out there to without the vetting process that it would normally take to get a new funding loan program out there, which is more than a year. They've got it out in weeks. And on top of that, we've maxed out. And where is that new funding coming from? And so we're looking for that. You've been watching the news, and so you're seeing more money coming. What I would say is, if you're getting information from the news about what we're doing, SBA and SBDC, call us. I still work in the media industry, and sometimes that information is not as accurate as we'd like it to be. We can't comment on it. And says, I heard this in the news, and sometimes that news is right ahead of our getting a specific directive and guidance from SBA. before we can share information. And sometimes the way that a story is shared is it may be different than what the guidance we're going to get. So be careful that you don't make that your main source of information. Come to us, come to the SBA website, come to the SBDC website, call us. We do have a high demand of calls coming in and emails, and we're trying to facilitate them as quickly as possible. I think we have some a little bit of better normancy right now. Things have kind of, it looks like it's leveling off a little bit because the initial shock, we've all kind of gotten past that. And now we're looking at how do we get these SBDs, the small businesses, funded? What resources do you qualify? Do you not qualify? When we're asked about qualifying factors, SBA has not given us that information. They have not released that information, so no one can tell you whether or not you qualify for an EIDL loan or not. In terms of the PPP or the PPP Paycheck Protection Program, that would be up to the bank. The SBA is the backer of that funding that's coming out, but it's much, in terms of what the bank, what your bank is going to do, they're gonna have some say on what that looks like, and it'll differentiate from bank to bank. So there's some things that we can't answer, that you may have to go back to your bank. But I would say that the news, let that be kind of a kind of take it with a grain of salt, and then go find somewhere to back up the information like SBA or SBDC. Many of you may have already been on many of the calls that we've done, the webinars that we've done. We're going to start pivoting, just so you know, a little bit on not just doing question and answers, giving you the updates on funding, what SBA is doing, what SBDC is doing, but to get small businesses to start thinking about pre-launch, soft opening. We're when the time comes for us to go back into our workplaces, you can see we're all working from home. That's going to be a rush, a flood of people coming out of their homes, and you have to start thinking about how you're going to respond now. In addition to, so we have to multitask. So we have to respond to the current pressure that's on businesses that are not getting the resources and money that they need, or income that they need to pay their bills. And we have to think about stabilizing you, and then getting you to a place where you can start thinking about what can I offer. And small businesses are getting super creative, and they're not only pivoting in their businesses, but they're creating a whole new stream of income, where when they do go back to their offices and workplaces, that they will have a new customer segment that they have now produced because of the online opportunities there. And as we realize, not everyone can do that, but you have to start thinking outside of the box. If this is something that is going to be a norm for an exceptionally long time, you have to think about how you want to pivot your company, or whether or not you want to dissolve it and do something different, or transition it into something else that is not uncommon. I don't know how many of you know that Mattel didn't used to be a toy company. They were a furniture company. And the pressure back then, they were during the war, they didn't have specific materials, and so the material that they did use, they had extra that they were able to get, and they started making little dollhouse toys, and it took off. And so they transitioned their entire company, and they're the world's largest toy company. So it might be an opportunity to think about some other things as well. But we certainly want, like the government, to help businesses stay in business, help businesses keep their employees employed, and move from there. And so that being said, what I'd like to do is equip you. I want to equip you to say, okay, now Margaret, where do I get this information? Because these websites are daunting. You got all kinds of stuff on these websites. How do I get to it? And keep in mind, you can always, and I would encourage this, if you do not have an SBDC advisor, register, apply for advising, because our job is not just to help you weather the storm, but to help you um, sustain, grow, expand. That's what we do, whether there's a pandemic or not. We're here to support you. The resources are free to you. Um, in a normal situation where there's not a pandemic, all small businesses are not approved. I don't approve all small businesses. No center director does. We look at your prowess. We look at um, whether or not you have something that we can help move you forward on. If you're an established business, we will approve you. And then when we do, we want you to make sure that you're staying in contact with your advisor, touching base, moving forward. Show up for your appointments. If you make an appointment, don't do a no-show. Let them know that you are you have to another appointment, and things come up. I'm getting a little feedback. Someone has their mic open. Can you mute your mic? And so I don't get that feedback in my ear. So that's kind of that's the gist. And I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to go to our website first, the Alameda County Small Business Development Center website, because there's so much information on COVID-19 and this resources.
I'm back on.
I see you, Ron.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, sounds much better. And so I'm going to show you where you can get your hands on information right now. We just don't have enough time to go through everything, but if you want to keep up to date, this is where you're going to find it on our website. I'll show you where you register for applying for business services. And by the way, I have several of our advisors on the call. Venice, I see you there. Always glad to have you a part of it. Ron, Barrett, these are superstars at SBDC, and they have been getting it in. I'm so proud of these guys, boy, I tell you. Frank Cancilla's on, and we have business owners that are advisors that are not just generalists, but some of them are very they're specialists in their areas, like Tom Camarado. If you want support on looking at remodeling your financial model. Everyone on this call that's a business should be thinking about their business model. If you are not thinking about how you're going to pivot your business model in this new world that we're living in, you're making a mistake. You're going to have to think about what that looks like. And that's where you make your money, is your business model. And then adjusting your business plan, looking at your feasibility analysis, looking at an ideal assessment, that products that you might want to add to your arsenal. So I'm going to share, and let's see, Alameda County Small Business, and be thinking about your questions. We're going to do our best to put you at ease. This is a tough time, and we want to encourage you. And we're seeing a lot of not just struggling businesses, but lost lives is a big deal. And I've been saying this on our webinars and meetings that I'm in, that my family have seen some losses. And I think everyone has, in terms of people who have either has gotten the coronavirus, or direct family members, and we've had some losses, and we're going to have some losses, and it's devastating. What I believe that they would say is for us to it's okay to dream again. It's okay to have hope. It's okay to take that time of mourning and understanding that those losses are there. But let's fight back, and let's do what our government is saying. Let's maintain that social distancing, but let's get back in the saddle and let's fight this thing back. I'm a frontline trooper. If I were in the military, you'd have to put me on the front lines, because that's how I am. So how do we do that in our businesses? And that's why we're here, and that's what we want to help you with. So you're looking at our Alameda County Small Business Development Center website, our main page. And so the way that you get to it is acsbdc.org, and it's just Alameda County SBDC. That's the first letter of our name. When you go to this website, you can see that we have this rotating banner, and I'm going to click on the first one. When you come to the website, you're going to see COVID-19 small business resources, and you'll see the COVID-19 info here. What I recommend is step into Learn More. And this has a ton of information. I don't know, if you are tired of binge watching. So if you're tired of binge watching and you want to read a little bit, this is a really good place for you to be, to help support your business. All of this information is updated globally to our NorCal SBDC. So we have about 18 networks, SBDCs, and every single SBDC, when this is updated, it's updated in Alameda County, Santa Clara County, Contra Costa County. Everyone's getting the same updates. And so when you click on these resources, and please let me know if you don't see anything. Understanding the CARES Act impact. This was loaded or dated for April 3rd, 20, and it gives you the basic information. And I'm not going to go through the details because we've been on so many of these calls, and you're probably seeing the same thing. If you have questions, we'll field the questions. But the point is I've read this 22-page document. It's full of great information. And even though the information changes a little bit, it's not huge. We're not seeing the huge changes that we've seen before, because I believe that our government is getting, and SBA is getting, more information as we help our small businesses on what to do and what's working. Payments are going out. California is one of the highest states in terms of our small businesses getting PPP loans in their accounts, as well as idle loans. But our state was one of the first states that small businesses responded quicker. We were ready quicker. We got things going faster. And although some of you are still waiting on your funding, we are ahead of the pack in terms of how we responded. So kudos to the small businesses that got on top of this. So this document has a lot of information that's going to help you understand, and a lot of your questions, basic questions, you will find in this documentation. And I'm going to not scroll through the whole thing, but I just kind of want to let you get an idea of what is out here. If you have not filled out a application for the PPP, download it, fill it out, get ready, work with an advisor. Our business advisors have, they're experts in this now because they're working with companies. Their workload is probably 5 times of what it was prior to the pandemic, and we're one of the highest producing centers in the NorCal SBDC network. So we are working at a very high volume, and they know their stuff. And it doesn't mean that you can't apply and do things on your own. I'm saying you don't have to go it alone for the whole thing. Time sensitive things, get going and let us get you through a triage process, but start working on what you can work on if you don't have an advisor. But you can work towards getting your business advisor. The PPP lenders, there's been a lot of questions around the lenders. The lenders have to do, and you can put in your zip code and find a lender. And I want to be careful on how I say this. The banks, even though a bank may be an SBA lender, they do not have to be an SBA lender to participate in the PPP, or the triple P is what we're calling it, program. They could be, we're seeing Lendistry, PayPal, Intuit, Square are all participating. But it is up to the bank whether or not they want to participate. Now, if you work with the bank and it says, okay, we're not taking any more applications, banks have a cap in this. And so if they hit their cap, they can't, literally, their lending cap, they literally can't take any more applicants unless they get that approval. And that's a process for them. We're asking banks to pivot a lot quicker than we normally do. So be patient with your banks. Work with an SBDC advisor that can help maybe help you navigate and locate other advisors, because we're updating our advisors. Our advisors are in meetings anywhere from 2 to 3 times a week, getting updates, because that's their job for us as our contractors, is to try to keep them as updated as possible, and so they can be a better benefit to you, so you're not having to go and dig up all of this information. But if you want to do a little bit of mining and staying informed, this is a place that you go. Please, please, please don't use the news as your end all to be all. Make sure that you're going to the SBDC websites, the SBA website, maybe the America's SBDC website, which is we're part of the America's network, SBDC, but websites that are going to be definitive on what you might be hearing in the news, because sometimes what you're gonna find is that our information may be different from theirs, and we're not wrong. Because we're getting our information from SBA. We can't comment on something that has not that we have not been given the directive and guidance from SBA, and we have to wait. And so sometimes, like I said before, sometimes the news is ahead of us being able to give you that information as well. And you probably have heard in the news or information, and I'll be on a call with Facebook. Facebook is giving, does have a grant program for the Silicon Valley, and Alameda County is part of that. And so that's an opportunity as well. So keep that in mind. The CARES Act guide, and some of these updates, this is 11 pages. So this is an older update. So you want to stick to the top, but if you want to kind of see how things have, has been kind of changing and moving forward, you can certainly go through all of this information. It wouldn't hurt you to do it, but it would help you to understand what's old information, what's new. Oh, okay, this is when this has changed. We have a survival guide here you can download, which I think was one of the best pieces of information that would communicate to small businesses when about a month ago, when all of this has kind of rolled out on us. But it's a good resource. Changes to it, again, because it's lower on the list, you're going to see that there's other changes there. And we do have frequently asked questions. You just click this link, and then it'll give you the answer there, the response there. We're working closely with our finance center as well. So you're seeing the federal support, the state level support. If you want some of our local information that we're updating as relevant, we're trying to keep the most relevant information. You'll find that on our news and announcements, COVID information. And then we have another link, that helpful links and tools. You can see like our pop-up that we did on March 19th, questions and answers from the attendees, small businesses. So if you just kind of swim around the website, you're going to find some helpful information. But I think right now what's most helpful is the COVID-19 information to help you. And again, it just goes back to the link that we were on before. I'm going to close this out. I'm going to take you over to the SBA website. I had an interesting question, like 15 minutes from one of our, before this, I'm going to share this, before this webinar started. One of my advisors called me, and that's what I mean. The advisors, they have my cell phone number. So if they can't get me, they'll call me right now, where you might have to wait hours or days before you get information. They have the most immediate access to the resources that we're trying to get to you and that you're trying to access. And the question was, they were having difficulty finding the forms that are required for the EIDL loan, some of the backup documentation or the PPP. And what we're saying is just because loans, you may have heard the idle closing, some of the PPPs, depending on the bank, that doesn't mean that you don't keep preparing and being ready to submit your documentation. And I'm waiting on a message because I can't speak to it now because I don't have specific guidance yet. We know that there's resources coming down. We have seen that. The release of that, I need permission or guidance from SBA to tell us that, and hopefully I'll have that before this call ends. I did send that up to SBA's food chain, and I'll be able to give you that information for you on that. So SBA's website, if you want to get to the coronavirus information, you click through here, but that's not really what I want to show you right now. I want to show you that if you're looking for any of the forms, any of the SBA forms, the IRS forms, the 4506T, you can get on IRS's website, but those, excuse me, that page that I took, the COVID-19 page that I took you to on our website has the list of forms. And so if you click on, there's links to, well, there's links to the IRS form. If your link or for some reason is not working on your computer for the other forms, for the SBA forms, you can type in the form here. And I'm going to show you how to kind of, I think it's a 2202. So when you search for a form, this is one of the forms, the schedule of liabilities needed. You want to make sure that you have the form number here. And they thought they weren't able to find the forms, but the forms are actually out here on SBA's website. And so put the form number in it, make sure that you're reading all the information. The form is downloaded, and I'm going to show you what that form looks like. And you can download the form. So you do have access to these different resources, but my goal is to help you understand how you access those resources. Where do I go? Where do I go? And I know that this is a lot of information, but I need to teach you how to fish while you're waiting on SBA or you're waiting on SBDCs to go through our intake process and getting you assigned an advisor. And once you connect, you guys can pick the ball up and get it rolling and do kind of a list of where you're getting stuck. I've had businesses says, I put in my paperwork and SBA hasn't said anything. Typically, the way that it's happening is once you file, you get your application number. SBA is telling us it's not taking 2 to 3 days. For the advance, it's taking, for everything, the whole thing is about 3 to 4 weeks. And so be patient with that process. We do have phone numbers that you can contact SBA directly to find out where you're at in the queue in that. But give it 3 to 4 weeks before you get too nervous about what's going on. If you applied for the EIDL loan before March 29th, March 30th, a lot of changes came out and they were asking businesses to reapply because they fine-tuned their process. And so if you did anything before March 29th, let us know, let us work with you to, once it opens back up or you're able to resubmit. And again, I'm waiting on the information this week to find out whether or not they've opened the door back up. And they could have. I could be slightly behind just because I'm in multiple meetings all day, every day. And so again, I'm asking for that information even while I'm on this call to make sure. And okay, so I did get a response and I'm being told not yet. And we're waiting for, and that's what I'm saying. That's how fast we can get information is I typed, I sent that information at the top of this meeting prior to us starting and was able to get an answer in, relatively 30 minutes to say, no, not yet. We have not, SBA has not open the doors back up to apply for the EIDL or the advanced EIDL. but we have an expectation. That's what I can tell you, is there's an expectation for that to happen, and we don't know. Hopefully that'll be obviously sooner than later. And I'm going to stop sharing. And so that's kind of the gist. All of the resources are out there. We're able to help you navigate it a little bit easier. You don't have to just wait, to go through the SBDC application process to get an advisor. You can start, but some of the things you want to start on is looking at what you can fill out, having your paperwork ready, connecting when you're able to connect with us and we can get you assigned. I assigned every single business to an advisor. That's what I do. And this last week I assigned probably 160 new businesses to our advisors, and we're hiring new advisors. We had a training yesterday, and so we are stepping up everything that we need to do to support you. We want you in business. Okay. I see Tom Camarado on the call here, an advisor, absolutely fantastic numbers guy. You're just not going to find anyone better. Frank Kinsella, depth in real estate, and used to own a restaurant, and Frank is one of the I told him, for real estate, if it were the Grammys, he would have swept everything. He has so many awards behind what he's done. You have folks that are just gifted and talented and ready to work for you on your behalf. Anise Johnson, absolutely phenomenal. She's the boldness coach. My background, just so you know, I have a background in business. I've been a business owner for many years. I'm still a business owner. I'm your director for SBDC. I'm a radio personality for AM 1220 KDOW. We're in our 8th season. We're on iHeartRadio. We work with small businesses all the time. I have a media background. I have a Small Business Concierge magazine, digital magazine that's all over the world. So you're working with people that have a desire to help you continue to live your dream and keep you in business. And so I think, that being said, and we're trying to do these meetings now where we're giving you a quick presentation, but this is about you. And we want your questions. We want to provide answers as best we can. If we don't have the answers, give us an opportunity to get them. We may not have them all, but we can field as many questions as possible. So this is the floor. Sean, I'm going to give it back to you so we can start fielding questions. And I have many of my advisors here, and so we'll work together to get them answered.
Wonderful. Thank you, Margaret. Thank you. And on a personal note, for my businesses, I applied for both the EIDL and the PPP. I applied for the EIDL with the SBDC and got an answer very, very quickly. Mm-hmm. I applied with the PPP by myself. My SBDC advisor asked me if I needed help with the application. I said, no, this is an easy application. I got it. Guess what I forgot to do is I forgot 2 initials on that page. I got kicked toward the bottom of the pile, and I wasn't processed for the PPP. So it's that important. I mean, just a little thing like that is why you want to work with an advisor. Very cool. So with that, I'll throw it over to Todd.
Yeah. So we do have a couple questions, and we've several people have asked the question: how do they get an advisor?
Oh, right. I promised to show you that. Oh, sorry about that. Let me share my screen really quickly again, and I'm going to go back to the website. Really easy application process. Give me just a second. Let me pull that up. I got so focused. I know we're getting and rightfully so focused on the what's going on with the COVID that. Can you guys see my screen okay?
We're not seeing your screen yet.
You're not seeing my screen yet. Give me just a second to redo that. Let's do screen 2. Can you see it now?
We're not seeing it yet.
How about now?
There it goes.
Okay, perfect. So if you scroll down right here, apply now. You're just going to click that button right there, and then it'll just take you through this 6-step process, and it goes into our centralized intake, and you will be sent an email. And please watch for these emails because sometimes they go to junk mail, and it will ask you to schedule a date for your intake, and your intake is about 15 minutes. And right now we are approving everyone. I've already given a directive to our centralized intake to approve everyone that is requesting COVID-19 support. So there will not be any denials. So you would definitely be approved. And then I get those intakes, and then I turn around and get them assigned within 72 hours. We're trying to keep it at the top of that within the first 24 hours. But if it gets a little, if you feel like it's getting a little long and you're concerned after that, on that third day, if that happens, just email me, ACSBDC at albany.edu. That's my direct email, and says, Margaret, I applied, I don't know if I gotten assigned yet, or I haven't heard from my advisor, because you may have gotten an advisor and either they'll respond the same day or the next day. And they have a lot of, they have a caseload, but they have figured out how to just kind of process everyone through, right? But they're pretty quick. It's rare that someone gets missed, but sometimes lost emails, junk mail. So let us know, communicate with us. Don't just think that we're ignoring you. We're not. And I'll tell you the same, and I heard this from Cindy Chavez, the county supervisor in Santa Clara County, and I thought this was so great. If you're not hearing from us, contact us, keep emailing us, calling us, and says, hey, I haven't heard from you, because we do get busy, and we want to make sure that you're serviced. So it's okay. You're not gonna bother us, and we'll make sure that you're getting connected to your advisor. Now, this is what I would tell you. If you have ever signed up for small business development service, you do not have to reapply for services for the EIDL. Email me and says, I think that I am a small business development center client, whether you're in Alameda County or not, if you're in Northern California, because we can look into our network, our 18 business networks, SBDC networks, and if you're in there, we'll find you. If you're not in there, we can come back and says, no, you're not in there. You need to go ahead and apply. Because if you reapply, it creates another profile for you, and we have to figure out whether or not we need to merge it. Is the information new or different? And it just makes the process longer. So if you think that you're an SBDC business, that you do have a profile in our system, email me at acsbdc@albany.edu and tell me your first name, last name, and the name of your business that you believe that you're under, because sometimes businesses change businesses. Let's take a look at that, and I'll let you know whether or not you need to reapply at that point. If you don't, then I will immediately assign an advisor to you. And I will stop sharing. And
Great.
there you have it.
So just that email address one more time, folks, acsbdc@albany.edu.
Yes.
We did get a question to repeat that, so I just want to be sure we got that.
And it is in the chat, so.
Yeah. And so we have another question, kind of, I think, generally about what types of businesses can apply or can expect aid. So a sole proprietor, somebody's a coach, are they able to be supported here?
Oh, yes. It doesn't matter whether you're a sole proprietorship, whether you're, and let me just say, if you are a coach, and sometimes what small businesses do, they don't actually do the business paperwork to be what we would call an official business. We will work with you on that, but everyone can apply. That are business owners, whether you have officially taken care of the formal paperwork or not, it's okay. And
you said specifically earlier that your organization can't help nonprofits, but does the SBA support? Do these programs apply for nonprofits?
Nonprofits can apply, yes. And we can give you, we do have a list, and I don't have it in front of me at the moment, but we do have a list of organizations that'll work with nonprofits that you can get advisors and mentors, but they absolutely can apply for the EIDL and the PPPs.
Okay, great. Let's see. We have another question. Will the SBA be helpful in providing health and safety resources like masks or sanitizers to assist businesses as they prepare to reopen to the public?
Right, that's a good question. I don't have an answer to that, but I lean towards that is not their scope. What I can say is, for example, Assembly Member Canton Chu, who's an Assembly member inside of Alameda County for District 25, has purchased masks and some safety resources for small businesses to access as they get back to work. So he's a resource. If he's not your assembly member, I would say contact his office to find out if any other elected officials are doing something similar, or maybe in your area, or contact your elected officials and see whether or not they're open to it.
And I can answer that question as well. Is you can also contact Alameda County Emergency Services. And I am going to send the form over to the chat right now, where you can click on that right through Alameda County.
Perfect.
So let's see.
May I add a little bit to that? Hi, everyone. It's Venice Johnson with the Alameda Small Business Development Center. May I add also, too, that I've been seeing advertisements come out. Vistaprint sent something out earlier today about pre-ordering masks. Also, there are a lot of small business artisans that are making masks. So it's another good way to support a local small business owner who might just be a one-person kind of operation. And I'm adding that to the discussion because these other resources are absolutely great. However, sometimes those resources run out. And so you don't want that to be your only fall into, or your only fall back on, is to count on that the county or municipalities will have what you need. So just forward think, as Margaret talked about stabilization, just start forward thinking about, finding other resources that are outside of some that may be mentioned, so that you can be able to have those resources, so that you don't have to have business interruption again, from not having supplies that you will need. So I just want to put that out there for everyone.
Right. And just on the heel of that, with the financial end, please understand that if resources run out with SBA, it doesn't mean that you can't access other resources that are out there, other loan programs that are out there. SBA still has $17 billion in the 7A program and the 504 program. So don't let that be the end all. Again, use a growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset. And a growth mindset says, okay, couldn't get it done this way. How do I get it done another way? Keep peeling that onion back until you get to where you want to be in each one of those situations. Thanks, Bernice, for pointing that out.
Just real quick here, there's a question specifically about Albany. Will there be another community meeting for best practices about reopening? Or will the city be deferring to the Alameda County guidelines? I've heard from people from the city who are actually on this call that, it's almost certain that the city will just defer to the Alameda County guidelines. So whether that information will be on the website, it'll go out in the e-news and things like that, but Albany's not gonna have its own criteria. I think it might be useful if we can get some indication of the folks who are people who got your video on, you can raise your hand. If you don't have video on, you can chat or something. How many people have applied for one of these programs? So some have. So a lot of you haven't. Okay, interesting. And of the people who have applied, are you curious about what the status is? How do you find out, or have you gotten something for it? I guess that's not a question you can answer with a hand raising, can you? So how many have received something from any of the programs? So people have. Okay, well that's good. So those of you who perhaps you can tell we've run out of questions. So for those of you who haven't yet applied, do you understand the basics of these programs? Or do you not understand? Would you like to know what the difference between the PPP and the EIDL is? I'm not seeing a lot there. So it sounds like people might be familiar.
There was a gentleman with the name Sarah that S-A-R-A, he nodded his head yes. And then may I add this as you go to that person is that what Margaret mentioned earlier, as small business advisors, we are here to help you to navigate the paperwork. So I've sat on many meetings where I had a Zoom call and the client shared their screen with me. We actually walked through the application process on her Wells Fargo bank account. You know, and so, but what we did before we got to that point is we actually sat down and did the paperwork. So we figured out for her PPL how much she can apply for. So we actually have a formula, a formulaic sheet that was created in Excel by one of our colleagues that we can use to help you to plug in numbers, you know, because that is about payroll. And we can help you to plug in numbers, and we can help you to be able to look at exactly how much you can apply for in the PPL, in the PPP program. So I think it's important for those people that don't have really a deep knowledge and understanding of the different programs, please tap us as a resource, as Margaret mentioned, that we are very skilled and knowledgeable in this because we've been saying it every day throughout the day, you know, about the program. And so don't rack your brain trying to figure these things out. And if you need help, as elementary as it may look, when you look at that application, you know, just like Sean mentioned, he missed two initials. And Sean, I know where those initials are on that application, where you have to, I think it's the last page, you have to really initial off on two things on that last application, and it's really easy to miss. And so, but what happens is the application turns into a DocuSign document. So as you initial it, you know, it captures your initials, it sends you a copy, but if you miss something and you hit enter, there's no way to go back and redo that application. So it's important that, you know, we are here to support you and help you to walk through step by step, line by line, and even working with you around getting your finances together. I had a gentleman email me this morning and he said, Venice, thanks so much for the session last week. I was able to get clear understanding. I know what documents I needed. And now he said that he went back today on Wells Fargo and he reapplied. That's a different client, happened to just be Wells Fargo, their bank. But he went back and said, I was actually able to submit my application because of the time we had spent, you know, really breaking everything down. So there's no question that is too great. There's no question that is too small for us to answer for you, because our goal is to help you to submit your paperwork really succinctly, but we want to help you to make sure that it's right so that you don't have to worry about where do I stand and if I did something wrong.
Excellent. And can you folks remind us how much it costs to have one of these advisors?
Oh, it's free.
Very good.
It's free. I'm like, did you miss that part? And I just want to give you a little information on what we're looking at in terms of the disbursement that's already happened. I was searching for that as Venice was talking, and so the EIDL advance in California, they have processed, and this came out April 20th, so this is just 3 days ago. 114,980,000 businesses have been processed. And then in terms of dollars that have already been dispersed in the state of California, we have over, let's see, $484,640,000 that have been dispersed in this program. And that's just for the advance. The EIDL advance is a up to $10,000 forgivable loan. If you get it, you do not pay it back. It is absolutely, so you'll get $1,000 per employee. So if you are a sole proprietorship, and it's just you, then you would be eligible. Well, you could apply. I want to be careful in terms of how I say that. You could apply for that up to $10,000, and that's on the application, and that is a little checkbox on the EIDL loan. So you have to be able to not miss that so you can participate in that once they open this back up. And then I want to go to the EIDL report for the loans. And again, we're really kind of leading the pack. It looks like out of all of the 50 states, the EIDL loan, California has gotten the most money. The most money. I think it's California and Texas that are receiving most of the resource. Well, it's all over the country. That doesn't mean that they're not getting resources. We just responded from what SBA is saying is we responded really fast. So businesses and working with their SBDCs and doing it alone. A lot of businesses did definitely go it alone. Again, I don't recommend it because I don't remember. What I don't recommend is doing it all alone. Not to start the process. Go ahead and start if you're in it and you're working, but get some help, within that process so you're not missing deadlines and things like that. California. So California, in terms of loans, 6,820 was processed, and they have, and out of, so just to put this in perspective for you, Arizona's 460, Arkansas 74 businesses, Alaska 1. Wow. And so we have the most. Florida had 2,000. So we've processed, SBA has processed 6,820 for the state of California. We've gotten dispersed 577,788 billion dollars. So the money is flowing out. It's happening, and if you can access these programs as they hopefully open back up. Certainly utilize us, and I would say let some of the people here that haven't put questions in the Q&A to just open their mics and ask.
We've got a few more questions. Let's run through that real quick.
Sure.
And then we can certainly do that. One is the timeline about they go on, they fill out the form on your website to get an advisor. Can you just remind us how long that process takes? You were saying, we know it's kind of impacted now.
Right. So typically when you apply, you should receive an email within a day and maybe the same day, just to get that intake process scheduled. So that's going to be, the ball will be in your court to get it scheduled, and whatever they have scheduled, you can pick the most recent date. And what I've been seeing with our centralized intake, it could be 3 to 5 days, but we've got a lot of support. So we're getting through them pretty quickly. So maybe 3 days or less. It just really depends on the caseload, but it would not be more than, typically it's not more than a week. If you're getting more than a week, contact me, and we can get someone on that. We have 3 different groups working on just our stuff because that's how high a volume we're getting. But we're leveling off, so it should be pretty quick. And then once you go through that 15-minute intake, they're going to ask you some very important questions. And let me just say, we're under a non-disclosure agreement, so we cannot share your information individually. We share information aggregate to SBA. So when we're asking for what did your company earn last year, things like that become sensitive information, we have to show that we are helping small businesses, and this is how we capture economic impact. To go back to SBA and says, please keep funding us, this is what we're doing, and we give that information in aggregate. If you are not willing to tell us how many employees you have, if you're not willing to tell us what your baseline is, what you earned last year, things like that, I will disapprove an application, because we have a responsibility to go back to our funders and says, this is how this program is working. And so when we come back, when we've helped you in different, and it could be in several different things, it does not have to just be in this loan program. We're going to come back. My advisors, I'm on them all the time, says, did you send them a survey? And so please fill out the survey and send it back to us. We have specific language. If that language is not used, you can't send us an email and says, hey, yeah, Ron Barrett at SBA helped me get a loan for $50,000. We're not going to capture that as an economic impact. We have to have specific language that SBA wants us to use, and we send that survey to you, and then send it back to us, and we're able to keep funding coming into our doors so we can help you, whether there's a pandemic or not. We need, and that's how you support back. And that's, if that's a payment, if you're paying for, then that's a pretty reasonable ask, I think, for that.
A few more questions here. Oh, first up, I noticed we're coming up on the hour. So if there's anybody who really needs to leave and has a question they want answered, feel free to go ahead and unmute yourself real quickly and ask your question. We have some more to read here, but I want to be sure to get anybody who needs to leave at 2.
Hello. Hi, I'm Mark and Carolina with Rising Sun Montessori Preschool here. And we got a couple of questions. We actually applied for the SBA loan on the SBA site on, I believe it was April 2nd. And we haven't heard anything from them yet. That's my first question. And do we need to reapply with you? Second question is, if and when we do reopen, which I'm sure we will, where do you guys have any idea where we get PPE, like gloves and masks and sanitary wipes and for our school?
Toilet paper, napkins.
Any resources for us?
Right, those are good questions. You have 3 questions there, so we're gonna unwrap that. First of all, you applied on the 2nd. So SBA is telling us it's going to be 3 to 4 weeks. So you're new in the queue. And so right now, you just kind of have to be patient. It's not 2 to 3 days. I know originally when they came out with everything specifically for the EIDL advance was 2 to 3 days. That never happened. That was just, it was just an unrealistic, our government working hard to try to get resources to you, but that was just an unrealistic timeline. And so it's really taking 3 to 4 weeks on anything. As far as the PPP, if you applied for that you can follow up with your bank on. SBA is not going to contact you unless they need more resources, more information from you. You can expect to start looking around, week 3, week 4, and I would say I would lean more into week 4 to really seeing something happen.
Margaret?
The application. Sure, Ron, go ahead.
Just a comment regarding the EIDL application. If you applied after the end of, in the beginning of April, it was a different format that they used earlier. And if you applied, say, April 2nd, April 3rd, something like that, you should have received an almost immediate email back giving you about an 8-digit number that begins with a number 3. If you go back and look at your incoming email to check for that, that would indicate that you are in the queue. If you didn't, I would recommend that you redo the application to make sure you get one of those numbers. So that would be my suggestion there.
Yeah, we did. That was one of the things we printed out. We did get that number.
Yeah.
Okay, then that means it's in the queue.
Yeah.
And being in the queue means a couple of things. Number one, I believe there was a fair amount of money still left in the pot when they stopped applications waiting for additional tranche of money from Congress. And there was still money in the system to deal with the people who were being processed. So I think you're on track. If you got that number, I think you've done about everything you need to do there. If they have questions about more detailed information, they will let you know right away. But my impression is they're not digging deeply on these things, and they're trying to get this money out in people's hands. And so, again, your advisor can help you. If you have a question that comes in that you don't know how to deal with it, we're here to help with that.
Okay, thanks for that. And
Sure.
On that advisor note, so it would still be in our best interest to go ahead and get set up with an advisor?
Right.
I think it's a good idea, yeah.
Yeah, and if you've ever applied before, then you're probably already in the system. If you think that you applied, just email me and let me know, and I'll check the system for that. And just on a global scope, if you have a number, and Ron's right, when you hit that submit button, you're supposed to be getting that that application number. If your number starts with a 2, you will have to reapply for the EIDL loan or advance. That was before, and that's why I asked about if you applied at the end of March, they changed the application process. They streamlined it. They made it a little bit easier. So if you're at a number 2, then you need to reapply. If you're number 3, what SBA is telling us is that all of those applications will be processed. You're not on hold with the funding cutoff. Those will go through. So there's no concern there. If you're saying, well, I have a 3, but am I going to get funded? You'll get funded based on their criteria, whatever they're doing. If there's any issues and you're not, qualify under their, again, they're not giving us that criteria on how they're qualifying businesses. They have their own formula. But if you're a 3, you're okay. You're okay.
And then also on the protective equipment, like the mask and gloves and stuff that we'll need for running the school. Do you have any insight on that?
Albany, you want to give the information that you gave earlier for your area?
Yes, you'd have to contact, if you're in Alameda County, or you would have to contact the Alameda County Emergency Services. I can provide a link again in the chat box. They are only distributing on a temporary necessity, not for stock. So it's still up to all businesses to get PPE from their suppliers or find a supplier.
Okay, thank you.
So before we open it kind of up to general questions, I do have some questions I promised people we would ask. So the one is here, if they've already applied for, I assume the EIDL on the SBA site, do they need to reapply if they haven't heard anything yet? I think you've gone over that if they applied before like March 28th, they should probably reapply. Otherwise, if they receive that confirmation email with the number, they're in the queue and they should just stay with that. Is that correct?
Right. That's back to, if you have a number 2, if your number starts with 2, reapply. If it's a 3, you're fine. Wait the 3 to 4 weeks. It is not a week process. It's not a 2-week process. Right. It's a 3 to 4 week process. And that is that information is directly from our district director for SBA, Julie Close. So.
And there's kind of a side to this question. So you showed us on your website, you have the form to fill out for the PPP loan. But if you're applying for the EIDL, you only do that on the SBA site. There isn't another place to apply for that. It's only on the SBA site. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, very good. So here's another question kind of generally about mixing sources. So can you apply for the PPP loan and also for the California's EDD underemployment program?
Yes.
So you can kind of mix. So if somebody gets support from Berkeley, they can also get the SBA support and things like that.
Yeah, what they're looking at is use, and remember the EIDL loan is if you're getting resources from somewhere else, then SBA is going to say take those resources first and won't give you the EIDL loan. The EIDL and the PPP, you cannot use them for the same uses if you get both. If you get, and so you kind of have to, as a business owner, you're going to have to weigh out, and again, this is where an advisor comes in handy, to weigh out those options and to really look at that full financial picture on what will make it make the best sense for your business. I couldn't sit here and tell you, says, okay, it would be better for you to take the $5,000 grant from Berkeley if you need $10,000 and you can get the EIDL advance or an EIDL loan. You really have to decide on what those needs are. And that's where you work out those kind of dynamics with your advisor, because they can look at the picture differently. And what an advisor is not in this entire situation with any one of your businesses is it's not personal for them. They're not emotionally involved. And so they are going to be able to be very objective about what's going on with your business, and rather than being very emotionally involved and making decisions out of stress and fear and concern, they can say, okay, let's look at this objectively.
So I think there probably isn't a clear answer to this one. This would be something you take up with an advisor, but what if a business doesn't qualify? Or what if they're worried about taking out a loan? So they can't get the grant, say for the PPP, or, you know, so would you advise a business just close at that point?
No, that's a really good question. First of all, the PPP is a loan.
It is a loan.
There is an 8-week forgivable in that. The idle advance is a forgivable loan. Everything after that is you will be paying back at a very low interest rate. That's the advantage. If you don't qualify, and I know that there's been a lot of dialogue throughout Alameda County about iBank. iBank is looking for businesses that didn't qualify, and that's, you know, they're taking you through their process of how to qualify your business at an SBA. We don't know what those parameters are. I couldn't give you a list and says this is what you need, and you'll qualify or disqualify. They're just not releasing that information. They've kept it tight and they've kept it in-house, and so
Margaret,
you might have to hang on a second, Ron, and I'll let you pick up. You might have to look at some other funding source. And again, we have resources or relationships and depth that can help you kind of vet those out. Go ahead, Ron.
yeah, I just wanted to clarify one thing. The idle loan is a loan. It's not forgivable. It is to cover approximately 6 months of your overhead. And it's at 3.75% if you're a profit making, and a a bit less if you're
it's 3.75% for
it's
businesses.
fixed for 20 or 30 years.
Right. Nonprofits.
And the idea is that that the payments on that loan are held in advance for the first year. So you don't have to make any payments on that loan for 12 months. But it is a loan. So I just want to make that really clear, because it sometimes is confusing. The PPP loan is a forgivable loan. That's a difference.
Right. If you can pay it all within 8 weeks, if you can spend, excuse me, if you can spend it all in 8 weeks. And so that's why you have to read the information that's on the websites. The PPP is a loan, potentially a forgivable loan, if you can spend all of the money within that 8 weeks, that first 8 weeks. If it's not, then whatever is remaining, you'll have to pay back at a 1% rate. The idle loan is a 3.75% loan that you would start paying month 12, day 1. And that's for-profit businesses. A nonprofit is, if they're approved, is 2.75%. And then the idle advance is an up to $10,000 grant, and you would not have to pay that back. So if you get the whole $10,000, you would not pay that back. So just, and those are the little nuances that, you know, you would want, you know, to go through with someone, one of our advisors like Ron or Tom, or, you know, we have a pretty big team. So I know it can be a little confusing, and we're, you know, but we're trying to make sure that you have the information. But this is what SBA is saying: apply. It doesn't hurt you to apply. They're doing soft, you know, pulls on your credit, so it's not, they're not hard inquiries on your credit, and it doesn't hurt you to apply. Let them tell you no. Don't you tell yourself no. Let them tell you no. So
if they've already, I'm sorry, go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, Margaret, I have something that might be useful for people who are applying for the SBA loan, the idle loan, and I'm going to put it in the chat. And if you want to copy that and paste it into something and then click on it, you'll get a really good presentation on the EIDL, including an advanced copy of what the application looks like. So you can look at that and know the kinds of questions you're going to have to ask, you're going to answer when you get on with them live. So it's a really good source. It's a series of slides here that show everything. So you might want to keep that, take a look at it, and discuss it with your advisor.
Right. Is that one of Scott's decks? Because if so, we have them. Okay, so that's probably in our resource. So Ron, can you make sure that you put that to everyone out here? And so those webinars are out there. And so if you scroll through those tabs where it kind of rotates through, there's other pages in that COVID-19 that there's webinars that will specifically show you those pages. Thank you, Ron, for bringing that up. I think that's a great.
That's very helpful. It has a lot of really good information on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yep.
So one more question on the application process. If they've applied for the PPP loan through their bank, but now they're hearing that Intuit also offers them, and Intuit has direct access to the payroll, so it's very convenient. Can they apply a second time through another provider for the PPP program?
We've gotten this question before. You could, but if you got the resources from say Intuit, you should go back to your bank or whoever you applied with and have your application removed from that process, so someone else can have that opportunity. So don't just leave it and forget about it. Go back and let your bank know. And just so you know, Intuit, PayPal, and Square are working with banks. They're not actually the lenders. So just keep that in mind, that they're going, to their pool of banks that changes often, who that might be from day to day, but they're going to the banks to get those resources.
So here's a question. So if your PPP loan is forgiven, you follow the rules, you get it paid off, you use the money in the proper way in the time period, how is that viewed for tax purposes? Will it be included or excluded from your gross revenue for tax purposes?
That's a really good question. We haven't had that. Kudos. Who gave that question? That's great. I don't have an answer for that. We'll have to get an answer for that. If you could put that in make sure, in fact, is this in the chat box? I'm going to save it because I think that's a really good question. That's a fantastic question. Tom, I saw your face. Have you heard that question? Do you want to?
Yeah,
not?
Yeah, I think for the most part, we've heard before that it would be forgiven. I'll see if I can find the actual document that shows that, and I'll give that to Margaret. She can post it somewhere. But
yeah, it is forgiven. It is forgiven, but how? I'm assuming that somehow it's going to be.
No, it's not included in revenue, is what they've been saying. At least one of them are, and possibly both of them. I'll find the actual source. I think it was either in the CARES Act, the long document of the CARES Act, or some other one.
It could, and you can download the CARES Act. It is 888 pages. I downloaded it and going through it, but that's a really good question. We can get, I think we could direct that specifically to SBA to see how they're expecting businesses to at least note it if they're noted it on their taxes. But that's a really, really great, right. I know that it wouldn't be in revenue, but I think we just need to, let us get back to you on that one. I think that's a great.
So kudos for the question. No clear answer. Excellent. Thank you. So here's a question about applying for the PPP loan, and if you've applied at the SBA. So you can only apply for the PPP loan from a lender, right? The SBA doesn't have a PPP loan.
That's correct.
Yeah, I just want to be clear about that. So you can't apply both at, say, the SBA website and your lender. It's got to be the lender.
That's correct.
And then one more question. Do you have any idea when the new EIDL applications, when they open up the EIDL program again? I see by your smile you don't.
No, that's a question that I asked coming into this meeting, just to make sure we haven't gotten that directive yet, or if we just got it, I mean, we would be right on top of it. But I heard back from our region director, associate director, and so far, no, not yet. We're expecting something. What day, I cannot speak to that. I'm going to be careful about what I say.
Literally the $1 million question. Okay, got it.
The House of Representatives is voting on it this afternoon, and if it passes, the president presumably signs it, and I would guess the funds would probably be available sometime the following week if all that happens.
So just disregard what Ron just said. we don't.
That was not an official answer.
That's not an official answer. Don't hold SBDC.
But it's a good answer.
It's not an SBDC. We can't say anything definitive until we get our directives from
Ron
SBA.
expressing his opinion.
Right, there we go. We can accept it that way.
Thank you, Ron.
Thanks, Ron. I don't want someone coming and say SBDC said, no, we're waiting just like everyone else.
Let's see. So I think, so one more question. So both of these programs are available for sole proprietors. So a sole proprietor could apply for the PPP and be compensated for their income or their loss, what they pay themselves.
Well, they can apply.
Yes.
How they fare in that is going to be up to SBA and the lenders.
Sure. Okay. And I think, I apologize if I've missed somebody's question, but we can open it up now for folks who wish to ask a question directly. If it looks like I'm sweating, it's because I am. I don't want everybody to unmute at once. Oh, we can't have done that good of a job that there's no more questions.
Okay, I have a question. Thanks for this call. I'm so overwhelmed by information. I think my head's about to blow off. But I'm one of those sole proprietors, consultant, do trainings, workshop facilitation for schools and CBOs and health places. I think I'm hearing the PPP probably won't work. So I'm wondering, one, would it be best just to get an advisor, let them help me navigate this, or are there grants available for folks like me who everybody that I work with is now closed and not doing anything? So that means I'm not doing anything.
So are you saying you want to apply and you're not sure if you can apply?
I probably can apply. I'm just not sure what is available for me. I don't have employees. It's just me. I go out like on contract basis. So I get a contract with, say, First Five to facilitate conversations. None of that's happening. So there's no income coming in from those sources. So I'm not sure what lane I should be in.
You can apply for both. You can apply where you fare. We don't know. And I would work with an advisor for sure. But, and let me just make it clear, independent contractors, or if you're self-employed, you can apply. SBA is saying you can apply for both. How that will shake out in the end, I don't know, but they're saying don't count yourself out, apply for both, including these micro businesses, and then yes, go from there. And right, a lot of the lenders right now are saying, we're closed, but again, we do have a list of lenders that are working with small businesses like Intuit, like PayPal, Lendistry, that are online, that they're working with banks. They're not doing the actual lending, but those resources are out there, and it's kind of like mining for gold, who's accepting applications right now. So, and again, banks will stop accepting applications if they've hit their cap, or they might have some other reasoning behind that if they haven't, but working with current clients, things like that, and what's in the best interest of the bank. And so we know that there's a lot of parameters around that, and so you just kind of have to find who's willing to say, okay, we'll take you on, and our advisors can help with kind of.
Okay, and would I also be someone who would be eligible for the unemployment piece through EDD as well? I've been seeing a couple of different things about self-employment and that program.
Right, we've gotten a lot of questions with regards to EDD. We are working on doing a webinar with EDD, so we're trying to get that organized, because when it comes to the unemployment insurance or applying, there's a lot of ambiguity around it, just because I think EDD is trying to figure out some things, is what we're hearing. Our office is part of the Career Center at Albany, so we have a direct line into EDD, and so they are trying. Everyone's trying to kind of accommodate something they've never seen before. But I would apply, and again, apply and let them say no. Don't do it because you don't think it won't work. We don't know, and they don't know either until they see the parameters of what you're doing, and give them an opportunity to make a decision about it.
Okay, thank you.
And with the PPP, with that decision is made by the lender, or is it the SBA program that would decide whether or not to?
It's the lender.
fund, it'd be the lender. So if you got denied for one, there's a chance you could try another, and you might get a different answer. Okay, and that's where your services would help. Okay.
And to my understanding is banks are still working with the PPP applications. So this, even though they haven't released the funds yet, it's a great time to work with an advisor to make sure your application is on point and 100% complete. Because if it gets kicked back, there's a good likelihood that you'll miss the boat. So
yes,
yeah.
That's huge. Yes, I just echo everything Sean just said. Yes.
Yeah, there were two things that I wanted to add. I think, for sole proprietors, if you have a Schedule C, it's your line 31. If in 2019 you were profitable, line, I think it's 31. I think it's line 31, your net profit.
Yes, that's correct.
That would determine how much you might be eligible for. You divide that, you would make it a monthly, divide that by 12 and multiply it by 2.5. As far as the unemployment too, there is a link. I'll send that to you, Margaret. There's something that's been going around for sole proprietors and independent contractors for unemployment who don't qualify for EDD's unemployment insurance. I think it's called pandemic unemployment assistance.
Right. I just got wind of that. I think in the last 24 hours. That
okay.
Right.
So you have that.
Yes. Send me the link. No, I don't have the link. Send the link. Okay. That would be helpful.
So you can email it to, I think, LaRonda or whoever if you have their email.
Right. Okay. If we can give it to Sean or
or Todd.
Right. I'm not sure who.
I'll forward it to you right now.
And we'll give it to them so they can get it out to their to this list. Of any of this information, we can put some links together. Yeah.
So just if anybody's got a question you've been thinking, no, I don't want to. If now's the time, the last couple minutes here. If you have any final questions you've been holding back, this is a great opportunity to ask your questions. If there's anything you're concerned about or don't know about.
Just to talk about that program that you guys were just mentioning, it's called the PUA, the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Loans. It's for independent contractors. I'm a real estate agent. It was one of the things that was brought up to us during that call, which I believe was on Monday. They said it wouldn't be ready for another 2 weeks as of then. So I guess we're looking at another week and a half for that program.
Right. Is Frank Cancilla still on the call, Frank?
I don't think so.
Okay, Frank hopped off. Jennifer, we'll get you some more information about that. We're just learning about it as well. And this is the thing, is that the information is coming out fast and changing. And this was EDD's, I believe, response to the overwhelming applicants who are independent contractors, and real estate agents certainly came up in that, in those concerns. So I can say that. But what we'll do is, Todd, we'll put a list of links together with the titles, so the businesses can get access to the information that's most important to them.
So Margaret, I just put the link in the chat for that unemployment insurance.
Okay, and then Jennifer, and the reason I was calling on Frank is, like I said, he's a generalist, but he's also, his depth is real estate. He's a real estate broker, awarded, and so I think he would be a good contact for you to at least get some of the information that you need. I was hoping he was still on the call, but yeah.
Sean?
Yeah, I mean, with that being said, Margaret and Ron, thank you guys so much for being a part of this call, answering a whole lot of the questions that our community had. I mean, we can't thank you enough, and knowing how much of a difference, even if what you said only touched a couple of us, it's a couple of us that would be around, So thank you to Jennifer Hansen from the Solano Avenue Association, our Vice Mayor for the City of Albany, Peggy McQuaid. Thank you, Bill, and again, thank you, Margaret, and thank you, Todd, for in emceeing.
Yeah, thank you for doing this.
Appreciate it.
We're here anytime that you need, and best of luck to everyone. And we're here to support you. We want your businesses to survive and thrive as you've known it to be.
Appreciate
And
it.
we will post the recording of this to the Chamber website as well as the chat transcript, just so you know. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you guys. All right.